Welcome back to another edition of the Buy Low Fantasy Sports Show with Mitch and Bam on 1490 Newstalk 1077. I'm Mitch. He's Bam. Bam, say hello.
Hey.
Just want to say we're happy to be here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully everyone had a great week 13. Now it's on to week 14. Week 1 of the fantasy playoffs for most of our fantasy football listeners. Hopefully you're still alive. So let's continue to get these wins and help push you into the championship.
Nice.
Bam, we've got our first full slate since week 3. There's lots of games to get through here. So let's get to walking this slate. You ready to do the dang thing?
Let's do it.
All right. Up first, we got the Washington Redskins at the Green Bay Packers. Game has a 41.5 point total. The Green Bay Packers are favored by 13 points. What you got on this one, Bam?
Oh, man. So the Deadskins are a mess. Both teams are pretty healthy injury-wise, so not much to talk about there. Redskins are missing 2 wide receivers, but with their quarterback, who cares, right?
Who cares? That's right.
Yeah. Packers side, you got running back Aaron Jones. He's been regressing to the mean. What does that mean? That means through the first 10 weeks, he's had 14 touchdowns while only receiving half of the running back work for the Packers. So he scored more touchdowns than he should. He's not scored since then. So the question is he done regressing, or is this the week he gets back to scoring? I think I'm going to fade him here because quarterback Aaron Rodgers has been playing lights out lately.
Yes.
I expect him to come out, make a statement against this horrendous, putrid, flat-out, bad Redskins passing defense. That's even worse. Now they're missing their best safety, DeShazer Everett.
Yeah.
And you got wide receiver Devontae Adams. He picked up right where he left off prior to his injury. Had 2 touchdowns last week against the 49ers, of all people.
Yeah.
I mean, the Giants, and then before that, he had a touchdown against the 49ers, so he's getting back on track. I don't expect that touchdown count moving forward, but the volume is insane. 32 targets in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
So I like him a lot this week. No duh, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other 2 guys, Lazard and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, just aren't getting enough consistent volume. Same with Jimmy Graham. So I don't think I'm playing any of those guys.
Right.
So what you got on the Redskins side?
So on the Redskins side, the big story here from last week was Darius Geis racking up 130 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns against the Carolina Panthers. However, the big however here is he did this on only 10 carries.
Wow.
To further complicate things, he was out-touched by his backfield mate, Adrian Peterson, all-day Adrian Peterson. He had 13 carries. He turned those into 99 yards and another touchdown. I'm not continuing to ride a committee back. I'm not counting on that production week in and week out from a guy only getting half or less than half of the running game work.
Nope.
And in the passing game, your boy Dwayne Trash Cans, he's still the quarterback, so I'm not going there.
Gross.
Condolences to you if you're counting on scary Terry McLaurin to do anything for you as far as fantasy purposes are concerned.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have to start him in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, for sure. Bam, you like either defense here?
Packers a bit. There's a pretty big mismatch with their defensive line and the Redskins' offensive line. I expect them to pick up some sacks, and whenever you get Dwayne Trash Cans on the road, 13-point dogs, I'm playing the Packers.
Yeah, for sure. All right, up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game has a 47.5 point total with the Bucs favored by 3. What you got on the Colts side, Bam?
Yeah, so T.Y. Hilton is out, and Paris Campbell is in. So finally he's playing. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 here. And our boy Zach Pascal, he's going to be the wide receiver 2. Hopefully you played him last week like we told you to.
Yes.
He's been getting some nice volume. He's one of the non-dead pass catchers for Brisket, one of the few still standing. So by attrition, he's going to get the ball.
Right, for sure.
And speaking of attrition, tight end Jack Doyle had a career game last week, getting a ton of usage. He'll definitely fire him up this week. It's tough to play Jacoby Brisket without his top receiving option, Hilton, because as we know, he scores about 4 fantasy points less per game without him.
Yeah.
So no brisket for me. I'm gonna go with a chicken this week.
Nice. I like it. Not even the pulled
Barbecue
pork, huh?
chicken. No, just a barbecue chicken. Just
Nice. I like it. I like it. What do you think about the running backs here?
Yeah, Marlon Mack is back this week. He missed a few weeks with a hand injury. So then you got Jonathan Williams and that other guy and that other guy. So good luck figuring out which back is going to get the run here. If I had to pick one, I'd say Hines. If you think this game is going to be high scoring, but past that, I'm just going to fade this backfield.
Yeah, for sure. And on the Bucs side, interesting fun fact I have for you here about our boy Jameis Winston, the quarterback there.
Ooh, fun facts.
He has a very interesting split. In games that the Buccaneers are leading, his touchdown to interception ratio is 16-4. In games they're trailing, his ratio is 6 touchdowns to 13 interceptions.
Wow.
That boy likes to dig himself a deeper hole every time, don't he?
Yeah. Deeper hole to escape to eat his crab legs in, buttery soil.
Oh, yeah. But so if you think the Buccaneers can lead this game, then go ahead and fire up Jameis Winston. If you think they're going to fall behind, I think it's going to turn into an interception machine. So what are you going to do about the pass catchers?
Yeah, like Mike Evans, he's a buy low candidate, guys we talk about who are getting a ton of volume, not getting the production though. He runs the type of routes to beat the Colts cover 2 scheme, fades, corners, posts, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's still his turn to blow up. So I don't want to hear he missed his turn last week, so it's not his turn anymore. We don't play that game here.
Yeah.
It's still his turn. And then you can't play Godwin if you're playing Evans, or maybe you can, who knows. The Colts are missing their slot corner, Kenny Moore, however. So, yeah, play both.
Yeah.
But Evans is the guy here.
Yeah, for sure. And the tight ends, make Cameron Brate again, your boy, and OJ, the glove doesn't fit Howard.
Yeah.
Continue to rotate snaps, rotate usage. So I'm fading both here.
That's smart.
As far as the running backs are concerned, your boy, Bruce Arians, the head coach.
Oh, God.
He is a scumbag, a complete scumbag when it comes to fantasy running backs. So you have no idea who to play in this backfield. Go ahead and fade Rojo, Ronald Jones, and Peyton Barber. The other guy, Dare Agabagana, that guy. Go ahead and fade all those guys. What do you think about either defense here?
I don't think this Bucs defense is attackable as they were a few weeks ago. I think they're a decent streamer option here, real under the radar, if you really need a defense this week.
Yeah, especially since T.Y.
Yeah, especially since T.Y.'s out, so that just knocks them down a bit. And then any defense playing the Bucs is in play because Jabu leads the NFL in both fumbles and interceptions.
Nice.
So this is a game that probably could go under. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. All right, up next we have the 49ers at the New Orleans Saints. This game has a 44.5 point total. The Saints are favored by 2.5 at home. What you got on the 49ers here?
Well, the big story last week, Colonel Raheem Mostert, who secured the running back 1 job with the candlestick in the observatory. That's a clue joke, folks. He had himself a monster game against the Ravens. More on that in a bit. Tevin Coleman seems to have lost the favor of head coach Kyle Shanahan, so I'd bench him if you can. I know this is a committee, but watch Tevin Coleman blow up this week because we said that.
Yeah.
And I know this is an on-paper bad matchup. You look at the statistics that show you don't start running backs against the Saints, but because you're listening to this show, you'll know that the Saints are already missing linebackers Kiko Alonso and A.J. Klein. They're big run stuffers in the middle.
Yes.
This matchup's about to get a bit softer, I think.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about the passing game here?
Yeah, the Saints defense has allowed multiple touchdown passes for 4 straight weeks. Jimmy Garoppolo, Emmanuel, a girl named Sanders, Deebo Samuels, George Kittle, all good plays here.
Yeah.
Especially Deebo. I think he's a sneaky guy this week. I know he's not necessarily sneaky, but he's a little bit sneaky.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the big name recognition of those other guys. I agree with you.
Yeah, his name's Deebo. What can you do with that?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you like about the Saints?
The Saints side, I like Alvin Kamara. He is the third most targeted running back over the last 5 weeks. It means he's getting a lot of passing game work.
Ooh, fun fact.
And he hasn't scored a touchdown since week 3. Now,
Regression.
Yes. This 49ers defense has been giving it up to the running back as of late. I like Kamara to have a big game here in a game with major playoff implications.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Thomas, he's still receiving double-digit targets as wide receiver Mike Thomas. And really, outside of him, there's just not enough volume to play any other wide receiver in this offense. Tight end Jared Cook is streamable, I think, here, especially with the 49ers strong safety, Jaquiski Tart being out.
Mr. Yeah, Tart. Easy for you to say.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to try to read his name again. So, Tart, he's out. He's out. What do you think about either defense here?
So the Saints are still missing their left guard, Andrews Pete, and he's got a brutal matchup against those two stud defensive tackles, the 49ers. I have some interest in them because even though they're on the road, they still got that ridiculous pass rush. And I think a good tournament stack would be the 49ers defense and the aforementioned Colonel Raheem Mostert. That would be a nice little contrarian tournament stack for you.
I like it.
And then you got the Saints defense. They're stingy in real life. They just never generate a lot of fantasy points. So I'd go ahead and sit them here.
Nice. All right. The next game we have on the slate is Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. This game has a 47-point total, and the Falcons are favored by 3. We have some big news here as the Panthers fired head coach Ron Rivera earlier this week. Defensive coordinator Perry Fuel takes over. And additionally, offensive coordinator Norv Turner becomes the assistant head coach, and his son and quarterback coach Scott Turner takes over as the offensive coordinator. So this could be, all this to say, it could be extremely chaotic for the Panthers this week.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, who do you like from the Panthers offense?
Well, here's a big play for you under the radar. I'm going to play CMC.
Nice.
And I'm going to log off. Yeah, in all seriousness, though, on this offense, we talked about the chaos, so just be aware of that. But wide receivers DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel are the two favorite targets behind CMC, and they should get some extra run, especially with Greg Olsen being out. He had a nasty-looking concussion last week, so I think all those guys are in play. And then if you are in the playoffs, you had Greg Olsen. I don't know how you made the playoffs with Greg Olsen, but whatever. I'm not going to judge. Tied to his backup, tight end Ian Thomas. He's a decent punt streamer guy if you have to replace Olsen in your lineup.
Yeah.
What do you like about the Falcons?
So I'm tempted to play running back. So we talked about earlier Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson putting up over 200 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns against this Carolina Panthers defense. So I'm tempted to play running back Devontae Freeman here. He coming back from an injury last week. But to me, it just feels like fool's gold. Even though he had 21 touches against the Saints, he has not scored a rushing touchdown yet on the season.
So what you're saying, he's due.
He's due, but it just feels like fool's gold.
Yeah, I like it.
Outside of that, you have a lot of injuries on the Falcons wide receivers. Tight end Austin Hooper's coming back. Julio Jones is questionable. Calvin Ridley questionable. Russell Gage questionable. So his passing game really needs all of those guys healthy to perform in this spot. Just make sure you're watching those injuries as we lead up to kickoff. I think all those guys are going to play, but just watch those injuries, and that'll tell you what to do with them.
Yeah.
What do you think about either defense here?
I think you can stream the Falcons' defense with all those coaching changes. The Panthers are missing their left tackle, Greg Little. They're missing their backup tackle. They're missing their left guard. They got a quarterback who just cannot stop turning the ball over. And they got 3 defensive linemen out too. And yeah, this could be Freeman and Falcons defense week.
yeah, it could be. I'm telling you, it just feels like fool's gold, man.
Hey, that's my favorite kind of gold.
All right. Moving on here, we have the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. This game has a 43.5 point total, and the Vikings are favored by 13.
Oof. Man.
What you got here?
Yeah, starting the Lions side, we got Udfar, undrafted free agent rookie David Blech, making his second start. And he played respectable against the Bears on Thanksgiving Day. He's an interesting streamer here, especially if he can get some garbage time run against this Vikings defense that gives it up to outside wide receivers a little bit, actually a lot bit.
Yeah.
And then what are we going to do about these Lions wide receivers? I'm just going to play Galladay and Jones because I figure they're going to have to throw a lot. Tight end TJ Hawkinson was placed on injured reserve, so that should free up more targets to the outside. Oof, I don't like it, though.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough to attack the Vikings defense at home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got you. What about running back Bo Scarborough? He's had some run of late.
Oh, Scarborough country. He seems to have established himself as the number one running back in this offense. He's got back-to-back games with 20-plus touches. Don't really like him on the road as a big underdog. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's a volume-based play. Say if you need a guy, he's there, but just don't expect a whole lot.
No. What do you like about the Vikings?
So there's a ton of Lions defensive injuries. Let's start with the two defensive ends, Deshaun Hand, who is out, and Austin Bryant, who is highly questionable going into this game. So both of these guys are really good in both the run and the pass. So I think this helps the whole Vikings offense.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, quarterback, he's been playing well over the past 6 weeks now, but he will be missing wide receiver Adam Thielen again this week. The Lions have been getting blasted by the pass, so go ahead and fire Kirk Cousins up. Know that cornerback Darius Slay will be matched up on Stephon Diggs, but this is a matchup that he's won. He's got the better of over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And, so go ahead and feel free to fire up Stephon Diggs as well.
Mm-hmm.
With Adam Thielen being out, I think that makes tight end Kyle Rudolph in play. He's been a monster green zone target in the red zone.
Touchdown machine.
For sure. Since Thielen's been out, he's scored a touchdown in the last 4 games. So go ahead and fire up tight end Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
What do you think about the running backs here?
So Dalvin Cook, he's been battling a chest injury last couple weeks. So here's what I'm gonna do if I'm a Dalvin Cook owner in the playoffs here, because if you have Cook, chances are you're in the play.
Yeah.
And you also happen to have his backup, Alexander Madison. I think what I'd want to do is I'd want to play both. Because one way or the other, whether it's because the Vikings are blowing out the Lions or they're resting Cook due to that injury, Madison should get some work in the second half. So it's just kind of like hedging my bet to get a piece of this high running back score. So if the Lions give up 35 fantasy points a game to running backs, Cook gets you 17, Madison gets you 17. Those are still pretty good scores for 2 guys. So I'm going to play both is my strategy.
Nice. I like it. Very, very contrarian there. I like it.
Sneaky.
Indeed. What do you think about either defense?
Yeah, the Vikings are obvious here. They're a great spot at home against the third string Udfar quarterback, David Blech, making a second start on the road. Just easy play, Vikings.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. Up next, we have the Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans. This game has a 41.5 point total. The Texans are favored by 9.5. Now, on the Broncos side, quarterback Drew Lock is making his second career start on the road here. And as far as his pass catchers go, wide receiver Cortland Sutton is a beast, and tight end Noah Fant both of these guys continue to get just a ton of volume there. And it is schemed. It's not quarterback dependent like we see a lot of wide receivers be. They're being schemed this usage. So I think both of these guys are in play here.
Yeah.
What do you think about running backs? Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman. What do you think about those guys?
I like Lindsey. He's in a great spot. The Texans been getting booty blasted by running backs, both in the running and the pass game past several weeks. And I think this is a little bit of a sneaky shootout appeal, this game. Just a little sneaky.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a shh. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And on the Texans side, quarterback Deshaun Watson, he is an elite quarterback for me. I think he's always in play. So now, as far as his pass catchers go, wide receiver Will Fuller does have the easier matchup since Denver Broncos cornerback Chris Harris will be shadowing wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins all over the field. So go ahead and fire up DeAndre Hopkins anyways. He's still getting 15 to 18 targets a game. Will Fuller has the easier matchup. He should continue to get his run. And tight end Darren Fells, he's one of Dijon's favorite red zone targets. So fire him up with wanton disregard.
Nice.
What do you think about the Texans running backs?
I like running back Dookie Johnson. He's starting to get a little more run. And in a game where the Texans are heavy favorites, in a game they got to win to stay in the playoff hunt, to keep their position in the playoffs, it was a good time to get him more involved, the Texans, because Carlos Hyde is just a guy at this point. So I like Dookie Johnson a bit here.
Nice. I think I'm any huge home favorite playing against a rookie quarterback, I think they're always in play. But I'm not super excited about starting the Texans defense.
Yeah, I get it. They're just kind of meh.
Yeah. All right. Up next, we have the Ravens at the Bills. This game has a 44-point total. The Ravens are favored by 5.5. So starting this one off, the Ravens side's pretty easy for me. Running back, playing quarterback, playing running back, Lamar Jackson is always in play. And of his pass catchers, Mark Andrews is the only one getting consistent volume. So go ahead and fire him up. What do you think about running back Mark Ingram?
Makes a lot of sense here against the defense that is susceptible to the run. But keep in mind, he's the running back two. Lamar Jackson's the running back one.
I like it.
Yeah.
What do you get on the Bill side?
Yeah, quarterback Josh Allen been getting to run the ball more of late. That's big for his fantasy purposes because that's points.
Would you say it's huge?
It's huge, as I comb over my hair.
Nice.
And of his pass catchers, you got wide receiver Cole Beasley. He's come on over the last few weeks, having scored a touchdown 3 straight games. Nice. And wide receiver Smokey Brown can catch an 80-yard TD at any time. Got to play both here, methinks.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh, we've talked about these Bills running backs over the past few weeks. Devin Singletary, he gets all the run between the 20s, and then Frank Gore gets all the green zone work. So I don't think either one are really fantasy viable, as you really need both of those roles shoved into one for that to really pay off for fantasy purpose. That hasn't happened at all this year, so I'm fading both Devin Singletary and Frank Gore if I can.
Yeah.
What do you think about either defense here?
The Ravens defense is a good play if the bad version of Josh Allen shows up, which might happen because right tackle Ty Nishikike is out. How do you say his name?
Easy for you to say, right?
Nishikike. Yeah, and I'm never, ever, ever play a defense against Lamar Jackson, so sit the Bills. I'd find one of those streaming defenses we talked about during the show.
Yeah, for sure.
So you got the Bills.
All right, let's take a quick break. Hear the messages from 1490 News Talk 1077. When we come back, we'll continue our Week 14 slate walk.
Yeehaw.
Take her away. Welcome back to the Buy Low Fantasy Sports Show on 1490 News Talk 1077. Let's continue our Week 14 slate walk.
Yeah.
We have the Dolphins at the Jets up next. So 45.5 point total with the Jets favored by 5.5. Bam, what you got on this one?
Yeah, the Dolphins side, this one's easy. This Dolphins offense is very concentrated to wide receiver Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is a must start if safety Jamal Adams is out, so make sure you're watching out for that.
Yeah.
And Ryan Fitzmagic is a streamable option, but understand his floor is 5 points and his ceiling is 35 fantasy points.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, and then I don't like any Finns running back. Maybe Patrick Laird in a PPR league, but past that, no, thank you.
Yeah. All right. And on the Jets side, quarterback Sam Darnold, He took his penicillin this week after pooping his pants last week against
Nice.
Cincinnati. He should be ready to go against this bad Dolphins defense. And of his pass catchers, wide receivers Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson, and tight end Ryan Griffin are all great plays in this spot against this bad Dolphins defense.
Yeah, terrible.
What do you think about running back Le'Veon Bell?
I'm done with this guy. He's a mid-range running back too, based on his volume. He's been inefficient all year. The points are coming through the passing game for this Jets offense, so play him if you gotta, but he's just a running back too. So sorry if you draft him in the first round.
Yeah, for sure. And I think both defenses are in play here. But look, both of these offenses has shown the ability to just go ahead and defecate in their underwear in any game.
Yeah.
So
They can fill up a pair of drawers, both of them.
Yeah, for sure. So I think both defenses are I don't know quite about sneaky streamers, but yeah, they're streamers nonetheless.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Up next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. This game has a 41.5 point total. Browns are favored by 7.5. What you got on this one, Bam?
Well, the Bengals side, you got quarterback Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket.
Yes.
Made his return last week. Got Cincinnati their first win, so yay.
Yay. Question mark?
Yeah, they're still first place in the Burrow Bowl.
Yeah.
The Burrow sweepstakes.
Yeah, the blow
He's
for Burrow.
yeah. I think Dalton's an okay play this week. Don't love it. Understand if you want to go there. Of his pass catchers, wide receiver John Ross is set to return this week, but he's fool's gold. Don't go there. Not against the Browns. The only pass catcher that's worth anything in this offense is Tyler Boyd. He's getting a million targets per game.
Nice.
I'm exaggerating a bit. It's actually 12, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then running back Joe Mixon continues to get great volume. This is a good spot for him against the Browns defense. It gives it to the run. Also gives it the pass, running back, especially if Gio Bernard is out. Make sure you're watching for that.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you like on the Brown side?
I want to start this one off with quarterback, the spoiled brat, Baker Mayfield.
Wah.
He's probably going to have his dad sue my dad for calling him a spoiled brat. But anyways, he's got a boo-boo on his hand.
A boo-boo, poor guy.
He's a bum this year anyway as far as fantasy quarterbacks go. So, I'm not playing him.
No.
Wide receiver Jarvis Landry, he has surpassed Odell Green Beckham, whatever his name is now, as the wide receiver one. He is a volume guy for me this week, getting a ton of volume. Go ahead and fire him up. And as far as running backs are concerned, running back Nick Chubb continues to get 20-plus touches per game. Remember earlier in the offseason, people were talking about, when Kareem Hunt comes back, Nick Chubb's not going to get that. It hasn't came to fruition. Chubb's still getting 20 or more touches per game. He's due for a big game. And against the Bengals defense, that is a hot pile of dog poop on a snowy, wintry day. I'm going ahead and firing up Nick Chubb.
Yeah, they're steamers, all right.
Yeah. Running back Kareem Hunt, the aforementioned Kareem Hunt, he continues to see 12 to 15 touches. He could see more if they end up blowing out the Bengals here.
Yeah.
What do you think about either defense here?
Both are interesting. I think there's better options out there. Fade both if you can. Browns are missing tons of pieces because of injury, and what's his nuts trying to take off the quarterback from the Steelers' head a few weeks back, Mason Rudolph. So
yeah,
no, I'm not going there either. So.
Yeah, Myles Garrett gave Mason Rudolph a little boop to his
gave him a boop. Gave him a little boop.
All right, yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. Next game we have the Chargers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This game has a 43-point total. The Chargers are favored by 3. What you got on this one?
Starting out on the Chargers side, quarterback Old Man Rivers managed to keep hold of his starting job for another week, as he only threw 1 interception last week against the vaunted Broncos defense. So that's improvement.
Yes.
The thing to notice, though, is this Jags defense has completely fallen apart over the last few weeks. So while they are worse against the run, I think you can still target them in the passing game. The guy I want, though, is tight end Hunter Henry. He's a buy low candidate. I like him to get it going against the Jags in this spot. I think wide receiver Keenan Allen's definitely in play if you think this game shoots out a bit.
Yeah,
so what do you want to do about these running backs, though?
Running back Melvin Gordon is one of my favorite plays this week. He's been getting great volume going against this putrid Jags run defense.
Yeah.
And Austin Eckler, I think he needs passing game work to pay off. So if you think this game shoots out, by all means, go ahead and fire him up. I'm probably sitting him this week, though, as I just don't think the Jags offense gets it going.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Jags offense, Minshew Mania makes his return.
What you going to do, brother?
Yeah, for sure. So quarterback Nick Foles was benched last week for my boy, Gardner Minshew. It's time for me to go ahead and bust out my fake mustache again, get that bandana going, start working out in the nude. I
don't know why you stopped.
In all seriousness, he's a definite streamer option this week. Of his pass catchers, DJ Shark has a date with cornerback Casey Hayward from the Bolts. And you also have Chris Conley, wide receiver D.D. Westbrook. I worry about volume here, though, because the man we lovingly refer to as Fat CMC, otherwise known as Leonard Fournette, he continues to get that heavy volume. He's like Christian McCaffrey, right? In that he gets a ton of work in the passing game and run. He's the second most targeted running back out of the backfield over the last 5 games. He's pushing 30 touches per game. I just don't see the volume. I don't see where the volume's at for the rest of these pass catchers here.
Yeah, I agree.
What about either defense?
Chargers are a talented unit, and they're finally healthy. They got a lot of their players back last week. We were on them last week, and we whiffed.
Yeah.
But they continue to put up disappointing fantasy scores. They're just not somebody you can rely on. So, but there is a big mismatch with the Chargers D line, the Jags O line. So they're playable. Probably not going to set the world on fire, but they're playable.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're one of those that's a better in real life defense than they are for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Arizona Cardinals. This game has a 43.5 point total. The Steelers are favored by 2.5. What do you think on the Steelers side here?
You got quarterback Ducky Hodges is getting his second start. So he's a quarterback who likes to chuck it downfield, which I think helps wide receiver James Washington and your boy, Deontay Johnson.
Yes.
I think both are dart throws at best here, with Juju Smith-Schuster being out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both playable, though.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Mitch, what do you think about tight end Vance McDonald?
Well, I know 2 things for sure. First of all, Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. And the Arizona Cardinals cannot cover the tight end. Vance McDonald, he gets this flowchart matchup versus the Cardinals. So go ahead and fire him up. Just understand that Ducky Hodges is only making his second start.
Yeah.
So he's a definite streamer option with a lot of upside, but also no floor.
Yeah.
What do you think about the running back situation here for the Steelers?
Well, running back James Conner is out again. So completing the process of ruining your fantasy season if you had him, draft him in the first. So rip to your lineups. I know you'd be getting on with your life at this point because you definitely didn't make the playoffs. And your boy Biggie Snells is going to get the most out of his run here, I think.
Yeah.
Average matchup, but I think he's in play. He's going to get 20-plus touches. I like him.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you like on this card side of the ball?
So Kyler Murray, he's been getting it done with his legs as of late. But don't discount this passing game. The Steelers also can't cover the middle of the field, and that usually results in a lot of slot wide receiver work. So wide receiver Christian Kirk, and to a little lesser extent, Larry Fitzgerald, they're both in play.
Nice.
What do you think about this backfield?
Well, you correctly predicted that this is Kenyon Drake's backfield, and he got almost all the run against the Rams last week. Matchup isn't great, but the volume is. I think he's in play here. Gets carries, gets catches. I think you got to play running backs to get that kind of volume.
Yeah, for sure. Either defense?
Steelers defense has been playing lights out all year, but I think I learned my lesson not to target quarterback Kyler Murray with the defense. However, there is a significant mismatch with the Steelers' D line and the Cardinals' O line. So all that to say, yes, play the Steelers defense.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Up next, we have the Tennessee Titans at the Oakland Raiders. This game has a 47.5-point total. The Titans are favored by 2.5. So go ahead and kick us off with the Titans offense.
Yeah, quarterback Ryan Tannehill continues to look like the second coming of Joe Montana or something.
Nice. I like it.
He's playing the best football of his career. He leads the NFL in completion percentage over expectation. He's playing lights out. Rushing upside is there. And he gets this pristine matchup against the Raiders. And I think we got ourselves a QB1 here. So
Nice.
fire him up. So hopefully you picked him up off waivers. I think he's startable over a few guys this week. Jabu, for instance, I'd start him over Jabu.
Nice. I like it.
And among his pass catchers, wide receiver Adam Humphries is out. So that should open up some extra targets for A.J. Brown, your boy.
Yeah.
Corey Davis, who hasn't really shown up this year. Maybe this is a spot. And tight end Jonnu Smith. I think all three are in play here against this putridly, horribly, awfully, sucky Raiders pass defense. I like the Titans pass game this week. And then over the last 3 games, running back Derrick Henry has over 500 yards of offense. That's right.
Woo. Woo.
And 5 touchdowns over the last 3 games. So,
Nice.
yeah, continue to fire him up. Watch out for that hammy. And this seems like a spot where he just kind of lets down a bit because the passing game might get a little more run here with him having that hammy injury.
Yeah.
So maybe he cools down for you a bit. I don't know, but still play.
Yeah.
What do you like on the Raiders side?
So they have they've had their poop pushed in here a little bit over the past couple of weeks.
Oof.
They're coming off back-to-back losses and are in danger of missing the playoffs. I think Derek Carr and this passing game show up at home.
Yeah.
And so I think go ahead and fire up Derek Carr. Among his pass catchers, wide receiver Tyrell Williams, he's been real quiet as of late. I like him a bit this week, especially with Titans cornerback Adoree Jackson out.
Nice.
Tight end Darren Waller, he's been a volume hog all season long. Fire him up with confidence.
Nice.
Now, running back Josh Jacobs, we've talked about him a little bit in the past. Joe Jack, he's been battling this shoulder injury all year. You got to think if the Raiders lose here, they're going to shut him down. What do you think?
I think so. If they lose here, I think they'll be out of the playoff contention. So, and the rumor is he has a shoulder fracture, so he hasn't been practicing for like 2 months. So it's got to catch up to you at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're a Joe Jack owner, just go ahead and grab his backup, who's Jalen Richard. Having said all that, I mean, I don't really like Joe Jack this week. He's beat up, and they're missing their best run blocker, right tackle Trent Brown. He's out. So I don't think it's a Joe Jack week.
Yeah, for sure. Of the defenses, I don't like either one, but it's important to point out that the Titans, I guess they're in play if the bad version of Derek Carr shows up again this week.
Yeah, bad Derek Carr.
Yeah. All right, up next we have the Kansas City Patrick Mahomeses against the New England Patriots. This game has a 48.5-point total. The Patriots are favored by 3. So starting it off on the Chiefs side, Patrick Mahomes is who he is, right? So really, who do you like of his pass catchers?
Well, I think you got to start with what Bill Belichick likes to do. So he likes to shut down your top offensive weapon. So you'll have to wonder if they'll try to take away Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
They probably can. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't.
Yeah, who knows?
Whoever their top weapon is, yeah. So if they take away Tyreek Hill, play Travis Kelce, or as you call him, my boy, wide receiver Sammy Watkins, the Lizard King, who's on my
yes.
yeah, he's on my dead to me list because I'm not playing him. So important note about this Chiefs passing game though is they've only struggled to put up points like twice in the last 2 years. Once was against the Patriots in the playoffs. They did that with heavy man coverage.
Yeah.
And the other time was against the Colts earlier in this year, a game Mahomes played in. They didn't have Tyreek, so a little different dynamic there.
Yeah.
So both these teams played heavy man coverage, and the Patriots run the most man coverage in the NFL.
Nice.
So from a DFS perspective, I think if the Chiefs are going under-owned, I'm going to take a shot at it. If they're looking pretty chalky, I'm going to fade them completely. What do you think?
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if you can fade Patrick Mahomes at all, point blank, or any of his pass catchers.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It is very contrarian it's very smart to play the contrarian way of whether you see the chalk fading onto or off of the Chiefs offense. Moving along here, the other part of the Chiefs offense I wanted to point out is this: they continue to deploy this running back by committee approach. Even with both Williams is out, I think you can both
Williams is?
Yeah. Both D Wills, Damian and Daryl Williams, both of those guys are out. I think you can comfortably fade Shady McCoy, Darwin Thompson, and blast from the past, Spencer Ware. Yes, he is back.
Spencer Ware. Yeah, Spencer Ware is back. Wow.
Yeah, so you remember back in like 2016 when Spencer Ware was
he was a thing.
He was a thing, yeah.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure. All right. What do you think about the Patriots side?
Yeah, quarterback Tom Brady, he finally pulled his head out of his butt last week. Had a nice spike score against the Texans.
Yeah.
Of his pass catchers, wide receiver Julian Edelman's the only consistent part in this offense. They've had over 25.72 personnel groupings this year. You got guys signed, you got guys hurt, you got guys coming back, you got guys get cut, you got guys coming back off injury, you got other guys signed, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
It's so just play.
You have a tight end, then you don't have a tight end, then wait, who's this wide receiver? Yeah,
who's this guy? So the only consistent person this whole year is Edelman. So fire him up.
Yeah.
And I like running back Sony Michel to get it going here against the Kansas City defense, allowing over 5 yards per carry to running backs. James White did go nuts last week against the Texans, but Belichick, home game they got to win to get back on track because now they're number 2 seed in the playoffs. They lost to Baltimore. They got to get a win here. So I think they lean on Sony Michel to keep that Chiefs defense off the field. James White will mix in a little bit, so Rex Burkhead, but I really, really like Sony Michel.
Nice.
You want to play the defense?
No way, Jose.
Yeah.
Look, the Patriots have been putting up running back win numbers all year long. They've kind of cooled off as of late, but they're still putting up respectable numbers. I'm just not going to play a defense against Patrick Mahomes. I'm just putting a point blank. The dude is unreal.
Yeah, a bad game for him is 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. Up next, we have the Seattle Seahawks at the Rams. This game is on Sunday Night Football. Has a 46.5 point total. The Rams are favored by 1. What you got on this one, Ben?
Well, we got some major playoff implications here. Rams are trying to fight for a wild card. Seahawks got the number 1 seed currently. So this will be an interesting game to watch. Starting off Seahawks side, though. Quarterback Russell Wilson, he's extremely game script dependent. We've been harping this point all year.
Yeah.
So if you think this game shoots out or they get behind, he's in play. If it's a low-scoring, back-and-forth, punt fest, run-the-ball type game, probably not in play. You're obviously never going to bench Russell Wilson, but if you're in a playoff spot and you have a quarterback who's in a better spot, maybe, possibly, I don't know. It'll be a weird decision to make this week.
Yeah.
So the Seahawks like to ground and pound, so volume is always a concern in those close games for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at his pass catchers, though, wide receiver DK Metcalf, he should avoid Rams cornerback Jalen Ramsey, who should be matched up on Tyler Lockett. And yes, I know Tyler Lockett plays the slot. And yes, I also know that Jalen Ramsey will follow to the slot.
Yes.
So probably going to fade both and just play Jake the Snake Hollister.
Nice.
Who's really come on at tight end over the last month. So
yeah. Hey,
what are we doing about these running backs?
I do want to point out real quick before we move on to the running backs. I want to point out that both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are in the top 5 for end zone targets this year.
Ooh, yeah.
So that's something interesting to watch, and gives credits to playing Russell Wilson if you want to do that. To further muddle your decision.
Yeah, we like to mix it up here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on to the running back. So Chris Carson, the Seahawks running back, he continues to get 20-plus touches, even though they're mixing in backup Rashad Penny. I know a lot of people were talking about lately, Chris Carson, he fumbled, and then Rashad Penny got the extra run there at the end of the game, blah, 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 blah. No, Chris Carson, he remains the running back one. So on the road, I'm leaning Chris Carson.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. You got to go with the main horse. The Penny thing is just kind of a thing. And like I said, on the road, maybe Penny doesn't get the additional run, especially if they got to pass more. I think Carson will be in the game more there, even though he did check himself out of the one last week and let Penny score a touchdown for some reason.
Yeah.
So thank Chris Carson. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. I lost my game last week because of you.
Yeah, I could have used that 6 extra points, scumbag.
For sure. Skipping over to the Rams side, I think this offense really has become the Todd Gurley show again. He's the main piece of this offense. You had Sean McVay earlier this week. He's asked in a press conference, why are you getting Todd Gurley more involved now? He's had 20 plus touches the last 4 games, 3 of the last 4 games rather. So they asked Sean McVay, why are you getting Todd Gurley more involved? And he said, well, I was being stupid. Now I'm being smart and playing my guy.
Yeah.
So he said he wants that to continue moving forward. So I think Gurley's the main piece of this offense moving throughout the rest of the season. So go ahead and fire Todd Gurley up. He has running back one upside, especially if this stays a close game.
Yeah.
We also saw quarterback Jared Goff. He threw for over 400 yards last week, but only had 2 touchdowns to show for it. Now, the big story of that game last week was wide receiver Robert Woods. He had 19 targets. 19, Bam. 1-9.
That's a lot.
He caught 12 of those for 172 yards, but that was against that weak Cardinals defense. We've already talked them up a little bit in this show. I think Cooper Kupp is still the main guy. And the reason for that, especially in this matchup, is because the Hawks have been rotating slot cornerbacks over the past month. Of course, Cooper Kupp gets off his run out of the slot. I think that opens up some things for him in this passing game.
Yeah.
And the last piece of the puzzle, tight end Tyler Higbee. He's in play because Gerald Everett's out again. We saw him have a nice spike game against the Cardinals last week. Of course, they can't cover the tight end, so don't expect that same production from last week. But he's a good streaming option for you here.
Yeah.
What do you think about either defense?
No. 9. 9.
9.
No. Yeah, this seems like a game that hits you over in LA. Probably some good weather, nice cool, breezy Sunday night. I'm not targeting either defense.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on. Our Monday night football game.
Monday Night Football.
We have the New York Football Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles. This game has a 45.5 point total. The Eagles are favored by 9.5. What you got on this one, Bam?
Well, the Giants side looks like our boy Eli Manning is making his gallant return because Danny Dimes got a high ankle sprain.
Yes.
And if that's the case, I'm just going to play Saquon Barkley and log off.
Nice.
Because we saw it last year, Barkley's rookie year. Eli Manning's just washed. He just can't do anything anymore. So what he did is he gave Barkley like 10, 12 targets every game. Yeah. So Barkley would get 15 to 20 carries and 10 to 12 targets, and that's one of the reasons he was huge last year. He didn't score as many touchdowns as a lot of guys, but he'd have 100 yards rushing and 100 yards receiving.
Nice, I like it.
So I think this is a game, Barkley, if you've been waiting for it all year, this is probably the game he finally gets it back on track. And yes, I'm aware it's a quote-unquote bad matchup against Eagles, but if you recall, last year, Thursday night, Barkley went nuts and got you like 25 points. So I'm not afraid of this matchup at all.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
So what do you like about the Eagles side?
So quarterback Carson Wentz, he's in a great spot against this putrid Giants passing defense. Wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey, tight end Zach Ertz. They're 2 of my favorite plays this week. And, just go ahead and fire them up. You do have to worry about the running back rotational thing going on that the Eagles have. I'm fading all of the running backs. I'm playing Carson, Alshon Jeffrey, tight end Zach Ertz, logging off. What do you think about either defense here?
The Eagles defense has a huge D-line versus O-line mismatch, so I think they're in play. Giants defense is an abomination against the pass. They're terrible. So, no, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Buy Low Fantasy Sports Show on 1490 News Talk 1077. Appreciate you tuning in. We hope you get that big W to push yourself into the fantasy championship.
You better be mad at you.
I'm Mitch. He's Bam. We're out.